Let's get into a little pickle, shall we? We talk here in this session about loading and saving games. There are various ways to do it. In this particular case, it depends, of course, on how many data points do we actually need to store. Do we have to think about, some capacity issues? It's, of course, a very simple game. So we only store at the moment the name of a person, the family name and the gender. So that can be done very easily using a pickle method. There are, of course, many other options you have. You can work with a, database. You can, save and load some data and then use that to initialize instances. If you want to know more about the pickle, there is a lot of documentation available online. Good, let's move back into it. So we just run our GUI and we have now here our new option. Again, it's Amy yet again. And this all seems to work fine. We now have families and we have the player instance. But at the moment, if we save, if we load, nothing of course happens. Now this we want to change. The first thing we do is we import pickle and then we create a new function. So in our functions for buttons, further down, I started a new function which I call save game. So in here, I specify the objects I would like to save. At the moment, I just use a default name for this file, which is always a PKL file, so it's a pickle file. I just call this game. Later, you can think about, saving several games, changing the names and so on. That's all possible. And what I do at the moment is I only have, of course, two instances that are global, the player and the family. So I refer to them in a list. So I call this list the objects or object list. And I refer to player and family. Again, it's important to notice that we specified these two as global, so we can work with them in a different function. Otherwise, you get into the problem with scope. Then we use with open. So here we basically open our pickle file and we now write to this file and we now use this built-in dump method, and then I just make sure it's checked. So I just want to run this and see whether it worked. So I just do a saved here and I repeat the name of a person and the family. Of course, once I specify my save underscore game function, I have to also do it in the command. So here I refer now to save underscore game and let's see whether that works. Again, I start the game, Amy Smith, start that, it seems to be fine. And now I want to save it and you see now it's saved. So now the next step is to load from that file and make sure that the information is again allocated to the correct instance. So here we are now. I specified my load underscore game function. So I open as a read my game.pkl, so my pickle file as input, and I simply load this. And again, I refer here to object, but of course note it has the scope within the function. And then I state that my instances should be global, so this is family and player. And in terms of order, I focused here first on the player, followed by the family, so I just unpack it. This is what I do. So I refer to my object, which is a list, and then use indexation. Again, if you haven't seen an indexation before, I did cover this in various videos, one on lists and so on. You will find it there. And then I just want to check whether this works. So I just ask now whether this loaded function works. So I just refer to the player.name and to the family.name, to these attributes, and check on that. Good, last point I shouldn't forget, I have to now assign it as well properly. So I have to do here load underscore game in my command. Now we just start something new. I just call her again Amy Smith. And then I save explicitly, so it's now saved. And let me just exit. And now I open this again, I start again. And now I go to load, and you see it loaded now. Yeah, so it worked just fine. Now I can do a new person. Just say Jerry the King. I do a new person. But I don't now save Cherry, I just want to load, which would refer back to our Amy. And you see Amy is still there, as expected. So this seems to work just fine. So now we have done the loading and saving. So that's for me the most basic structure. We can start a game, we can save information, we can load. So that's all for this session. I see you in the next one.